Greetings, everyone. This is Rock and Roll Spot Convention with the Weekly Comic Roundup. We are about halfway through this week's roundup, so let's get going. Kicking things off, we've got Dark Crisis Warzone. So the Warzone one shots are becoming a regular thing for DC crossovers. We saw this with Shadow War, and we're seeing it again with Dark Crisis. I think those are the only two there have been so far. Like Shadow War's Warzone one shot, this is a collection of short stories. They're all relate tying to the overall story. Generally, in this case, would be the final battle from Dark Crisis. So we open up. We've got a story focusing on Iris West interviewing various people after the battle, asking them, getting their takes. During the battle, well, she was in the midst of it and basically told, hey, we admire your commitment and all, but you need to get the hell out of there. When she's saved by Linda Park West, who reveals to Iris that she has powers now too. Iris takes some of the bystanders into the Hall of Justice, explaining there's a safe room, a panic. There's a panic room within the hall, and Barry made her memorize the code. Apparently, the panic room is also the armory. And so Linda and Iris each grab weapons, and they put the kids in some armor and head out and deal with the Dark Army. Just as the League and the Green Lantern Corps arrive. Next up, we've got a story focusing on Jim Corrigan. Jim Corrigan was the original human anchor for the Spectre. Corrigan and the Spectre parted ways initially in the 90s, leading to around the same time that I think it was shortly after, if I remember correctly. Hal Jordan became Parallax, and then Hal Jordan became the anchor for the Spectre. Hal and the Spectre parted ways, and the Spectre, a late GCPD detective named Christmas Allen became the new anchor, and then I think it ended up going back to Corrigan for a while, and in one of the various recent reboots. But Corrigan's getting no longer being the anchor of the Spectre, is basically enjoying living. He was on vacation when all this started, and well, on his way towards the Hall of Justice, though, because kind of a once a hero type of thing. The upper torso of Frankenstein gets thrown into his car. But he sees Raven fighting the Spectre, and he makes a move and basically goes to re-anchor the Spectre to himself. It seems, one, it's given Raven the assist she needed so that she could actually stop the Spectre, and two, well, it may have complicated Corrigan's life a bit. Our next story focuses on the Amazons. Cleo, an Amazon named Cleo, is basically writing out basically writing the histories, while the Amazons go out to take a portal and into the Misc embassy, do what they can to help. But in the battle itself, though, we see Nubia, Yara Flor, Diana, and I think, can't really tell, but I think we've got Donna Troy as well. Um, but others are helping with cleanup, helping, you know, helping those in need. The idea being that their hands are just as useful, are even more useful when offering aid than they are holding a sword. However, in Akahim, the home of the Escacida, the seer sees death and destruction coming at the hands of Deathstroke and his army of darkness. Next, we've got make our confessions long because we pray we keep it short, focusing on the Green Lanterns, namely Guy Gardner and Sojourner Mullinan. Hal Jordan basically tells Guy and Sojourner to deal with the shadow demons incoming. Initially, Guy scoffs at this, so he'll take on the Dark Army, and then Superman gets thrown down literally thrown down in front of them, and Guy's much more willing to hold the line, as it were, which he and the rest of the Lanterns do, though it's rough, and not all and some of the newer Lanterns appear to have some not entirely sure they can do it. But they pull it off, and Sojourner tells Guy that he's a hero. He's the one guy got to do it. But Guy says, no. Your speech, that's what did it. He didn't think they were going to make it. He thought they were going to die. Next up, we've got a story focusing on Red Canary. After the events of the Dark Army, Dr. Light, Sideways, Robin, Damian Wayne, Power Girl, and Red Canary are back, and back in the midst of the battle. Red Canary goes after, takes on a hyena, but blocking one of its hands. But Robin saves her, pointing out that it's got two. But Robin says she get into a crashed bus around the time that Superman falls in front of them. However, the Dollmaker's on the bus and comes after her when Black Canary takes him out with a kick to the face. Turns out Black Canary is Red Canary's hero, and so the two of them team up, saving Spoiler, Batgirl, Sylvie Brown from Nocturna, and the three of them all work together with Black Canary, giving Red Canary some on the job training, you might call it. And yeah, Red Canary's incredibly thrilled about the whole thing. Getting to kick ass with her hero. Who doesn't want that? And that is where the issue ends. I guess I like these with the whole little shorts. There's nowhere to really put him in his backup, especially with them being all tied around one thing going on in an event story. Were there if Dark Crisis had more tie-ins, I could see it, but I also understand why there aren't as many. So, but moving on to our next book, we've got Daredevil #6. Where we left off, Daredevil and Daredevil freed a handful of prisoners from the Myrmidon to recruit into the Fist. They'd also gotten some intel that the Hand had managed to recruit various world leaders. So we find out who all got. We've got Speed Demon, Bullet, Fancy Dan, Stiltman, Wrecker, Stegron, and Agony. They're all having sessions with Green Sasquatch, formerly Doc Samson. Agony is the only one who the therapy doesn't seem to be working with for. She attacks Samson and then attacks Daredevil, Matt, who seems to be able to at least somewhat calm her down. In Washington, Daredevil, Elektra, is going after a world leader who's been taken by the Hand. But Daredevil, Matt, and Bullet have a chat. Though Bullet still just figures he's really just kind of traded one prison for another. In Washington, Elektra's attempt on the president is stopped by the arrival of Iron Man. Complicating matters. She and a couple of the members of the Fist who went with her they managed to subdue Iron Man, in fact, Elektra using the size that Tony made for her. But the president jumps out the window of the room he's in. A window which is multiple stories up. Daredevil then goes. We've learned that the 7 villains I mentioned are not the only ones that left with the Daredevils. Goldie did as well. Matt goes to talk to him, and well, claims he is truly free. Daredevil Elektra goes to confront the president, who basically says that they're everywhere, and then fades to dust, and is caught on cell phone camera doing so, making Daredevil the suspect at large, the assassination of the president. Elsewhere, Aka is talking with none other than the Fist of the Hand himself, the Punisher. As they prepare for the battle with the Fist. That is where the issue ends. Things are getting more than a little interesting, to say the least. And we'll be getting to more with with Punisher and the Hand later. Convenient when both books come out the same week. Moving on to our next book, though, we've got Ghost Rider number 9. Where we left off, Agent Warroad and Johnny Blaze were running together and made it to Chicago, and Agent Warroad kind of sort of summoned the Ghost Rider to the surface. And the spirit probably turned on her. So she's now running from Ghost Rider, but she manages to talk it down. Johnny suggests she never do that again. And but they gotta get to work. Exhaust is making his way through Chicago, talking about how the narration goes on about how the roads of the country are haunted. Very, you generally speaking, from the very, all those who died on them, car accidents and the like. But he seemingly corrupts a truck driver, causing a multi-car crash. Warroad and Blaze do some investigating in Chicago, walking into a church and finding it desecrated, having been the site of a mass sacrifice. With Johnny saying that the various places he went in the Shadow Country all seem to have one thing in common: sacrifice. A raven is sent into the church by Zeb that basically let them know that he's still kicking. And in fact, he and his allies are Hell's backbone. In the Agent Warroad talks about kind of the pain and basically all of the, I guess one could call it supernatural turbulence that's imprinted upon, especially the railways emanating out of Chicago. Chicago kind of being the heart for all of these. The just keeps the pain and everything flowing through the roads across the country. Especially going back to the slaughterhouse eras of the point when Chicago had slaughterhouses. But basically, it was said both Warroad and Blaze admit that yes, there were a handful of places where they had large concentrations of supernatural activity going on. New York, D.C., Savannah, Hell's Backbone, and Chicago. As they continue their journey through the underbelly of Chicago, a homeless man trying to sell information for apparently teeth, is enraged as he spills his cup and then attacks Blaze and Talia and jumps in front of a train. A train filled with passengers who appear to be being taken to slaughter. So Blaze Ghost Riders up and throws his chain at the train, and Talia goes after him, only to run into Exhaust, however. Ghost Rider, meanwhile, ends up at a train stop operated almost completely by the creatures of Hell. Grabs a chainsaw and makes the Hellfire-infused chainsaw, and goes after the demons, while Exhaust attempts to take control of Agent Warroad, and that is where the issue ends. I'm really digging this book. I mean, I'm a little biased because I'm a pretty big Ghost Rider fan, but this is probably the best Ghost Rider book I've read in a little under 30 years, about 30 years or so. Moving on to our next book, we've got Jessica Jones, The Variants, number 5. Where we left off, Jewel was revealed to be the villain of the villainess of the Jessicas, and in fact she had put together her own team of variants to take on Jessica Prime. And we get names for all of them. We've got Revision, Jessica 2099, who looks more like Cable than a 2099 character, but oh well. Ultra Jess, alias Jesse James, Morning Blush, the Electra variant, or the Electra-looking variant. Sigil, the Asgardian-looking one, and Power Woman. Well, we get Jewel's supervillain origin story. It appears she's a mutant. She was in love with Cyclops, posted on her wall, but when Jean Grey married Cyclops, well, she snapped and attacked Xavier's school, killing Cyclops, Jean, Colossus, Angel. Looks like we've got Quicksilver and Wolverine also among the dead. Oh, and Rogue too. Apparently, Jewel's powers work very similar to Rogue. And that was kind of her big day. The first day she ever shampooed a hero's blood out of her hair. Nitrous, it turns out, is from that reality. And but Jewel continued looking for others, and eventually found someone else that could grant her, whom she could get more power from. Doctor Strange. And she took the Eye of Agamotto off his corpse. But the basic idea is that she intends to take Jessica Prime's place and just kind of leech off of basically leech power off, life force off of Luke. Will probably take a while. She'll try to do it, little by little, so he doesn't notice. Saying that he'll have no problem accepting her. She's younger, she's prettier, bit of a libertine. But across town, Luke's planning to go save Jessica, leaving Danielle with Misty and Colleen. But we get the big fight between the two groups of variants. And Jewel manages to get Prime dead to rights using the Eye of Agamotto to keep her frozen and frozen in place and levitate her. When Luke shows up and puts a chain around Jewel's neck, she gets knocked out, but her team of variants turn on her, though. When Wanda Strange appears on the scene, taking Jewel prisoner. And, yeah, everyone's remorseful, but they're told to just go. However, Omega picked up the Eye of Agamotto, and Prime talks her into handing it over, and she hands it over to Wanda. The variants all go back to their Earths, and Jess tells Luke everything that happened as the sun rises. And that is where the series ends. I really liked this book. It was... Gail Simone's Jessica Jones was great. I saw her talking on Twitter a while back, a couple weeks ago or so, about how she already misses writing Jess. So maybe we might see some more Jessica Jones books by Gail Simone, or maybe some more Jessica Jones books in general. Moving on to our last book for the moment, we've got Punisher, number 8. Where we left off, Ares was leading his Apostles of War to the Hand Citadel. As per usual, we've got flashbacks to Frank and Maria's past, including not the day that they died, but a similar day, the Castleton went on a picnic in the park. And then for the next 2 weeks afterwards, though, Frank was just was completely withdrawn. Maria's related this to a couples counselor that they're both talking to. But she tries to, they don't need a soldier, But Frank says he's not a soldier, he's a Marine. But the daily executions are interrupted by the Archpriestess and one of the other ninjas, as Ares is en route. The High Priestess initially orders ninjas to meet them in the woods, but Frank's like, no, let them come. They're already here. He then has those who would be killed by the daily executions freed. Basically tells the ninja president to give them their swords, and if any of them can kill Frank, they earn their freedom. None of them do. Frank exhibits the marrow of the beast as well. Maria walks through the halls of the Citadel, coming upon the High Priestess and eventually asking who the Punisher is. But the High Priestess breathes out gas that causes her to lose consciousness, and her guards are told to make sure she doesn't leave her room. The Apostles of War arrive. An additional flashback to both Frank and Maria thinking they heard something and checking it out downstairs separately, with both armed, but Maria lays into him, basically saying, that she, they need a father and she needs a husband. And while they get comfortable on the couch, with each other on the couch, we see there were a handful of hand ninjas outside the castle house. But Frank's personal guard explains that the deaths of the guards' families at the hands of the Archpriestess was a terrible crime and will not go unpunished. And he simply tells them if they stand with him, they will be with their families will be with them again. But the hand is in unison, raising their swords and saying, "God bless the Punisher." Frank goes briefly to talk to Maria, who seems to be less and less enthused about about being there, and is now sleeping with a gun from the wall of weaponry. The shards of the Fist of the Sword are reforged into bullets, and at the front, as the Apostles of War arrive, Frank meets them, saying that gods don't win wars, bullets do. And that is where the issue ends. This is getting really good, and like I said, I'm seriously waiting to see how everything goes down with the eventual collision with Daredevil. Anyway, that is going to do it for now. As always, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Links to my Facebook, Twitter, Patreon, and PayPal can be found in the description box down below. This is Rock and Roll Spock signing off, saying, live long and rock hard.